Okay, we're recording.
Great. So we want to thank everyone for coming tonight to the webinar. It's our master's thesis project night. And tonight we're very lucky to have three of our students from Dr. Collada's class and my class, Malvanie and John and Dottie, to give a brief description of their study they did, what they learned and what they suggest moving forward. And we have time for some question and answers. Each student will take approximately 20 minutes in total, and we're glad they're here. We look forward to hearing them speak. So I guess we'll start with whoever was first on the list. I think, was it Malvanie?
Malvanie.
Okay. So take it away, Malvanie.
Okay, so hi, as we stated, my name is Malvanie Williams, and I am the coordinator and scheduler for the Center for Leadership and Engagement at New Jersey City University. And that kind of brought me to my study because my research is, I'm sorry, something popped up. My research is using smart devices to engage students in higher education. And the reason I chose this is because I wanted to find better ways to reach our students. And if it's all right, let me try to share my screen. I have a website that I wanted to go through. Screen. This is my first time trying to share it, so I'm sorry. Let me find, oh, okay. Can you guys see this?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm gonna kind of go through the website, which is how I organized my thought process. And so just a little background. This is how these videos right here, I'm not gonna show them to save time, is how we used to host events. These are actually physical, I guess, videos and bongo ball, and the other one is a spring break trip that we used to take students for Habitat to help community service. And bongo ball is kind of like a Nerf ball with a paintball thing with Nerf balls, but these was events that was active. And what I've noticed through the years is that events started to decline. I mean, student attendance started to decline. This is something we all notice who host events at NJCU. So below that are example of digital events. And these were doing well when we first started them at this a few years ago. And the first one is 10 questions, where we would just stop random students on campus and ask them 10 questions about their day or whatever. Questions such as, what's your favorite place to eat on campus or things like that. And the second one is a podcast. And these are things that I created to help bring in digital events to the school. Now, the issue was engagement, because because of low attendance, we realized we had to keep up engagement. So, and this was the main problem for my study. So, and the biggest challenges with engagement is, I'm gonna share also, sorry, I have a PowerPoint also. So, I'll just drop my index cards. So, student engagement, which is referring to how involved students interested are with classes, institution, and each other. When students are engaged, we realize that networking, they have better skills with networking, leadership skills, improving social skills, sharing ideas, such as an increase in attendance, attention, and focus. These are again, another group of events that we used to do in the past that we found, which was good, open mics. This is Clash on the Canvas, where we would get 4 art students to battle each other. And these are just workshops, like Who's Caribbean and a History of Reggae workshop. I know I'm going through these kind of quick because I want to make sure I fit in the time. So the main problem is now how to engage students, type X students, with the way we learned in the past, which we can't do because students now have different interests. These students today are native learners, which I got from Prinsky. And a native learner is a generation that does not know a world without computers, and in our case, mobile devices, because and these are a few quotes that I found while doing my research. One of the main problems with bringing mobile devices into events is that educators on a whole struggle to create classes and things like that for students. And these are just more quotes that that basically talk about how the new student generations, these students learn. These students learn.
Malvanie, I'm sorry to interrupt you,
Right.
but are you going off of your PowerPoint or off of your website?
Right now, the PowerPoint, and then I'm gonna go back to the website because
Okay.
I have, something to show later.
Yeah, there was just a question about being able to see it, if there was for us to see that. So I don't know if just to help facilitate that, there was a couple questions in the chat.
What are you guys seeing now?
We
Thank
see
you,
your
Samantha.
website.
Huh? You seeing what?
The website.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm on the PowerPoint.
Yes.
I don't know why. I thought I shared it with you. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
No, don't apologize. I think there was just
There you go.
There we go.
Oh, so you missed the whole thing.
We
No,
were listening.
We're following you with Prensky, and then now your quotes, and you're expounding upon your quotes. But it was just a little bit of facilitation for us to see that. So thank you.
Oh, all right. I'll continue from here if that's all right.
Yes, thank
Yes,
you.
please.
All right. So, sorry, lost train of thought, distractions. So the reference, this was just the references for this. I'm gonna go back to the website, sorry. Oh, wrong one.
Malvanie, you could stop the share if you want and, you know, get the tab that you want to show us, if that's better for you for a moment. And then, oh, there's the.
Yeah, I'm gonna just move on with the PowerPoint and then go back to the website.
Okay.
So with my research, I'm trying to get it to start the show. When I was practicing today, I had none of these problems.
Of course not.
My mouse is acting up now. I can't get to the thing to start the slide. Oh my God. All right, let me see if I could start it from over here. Why is it doing this? Okay. Everything that goes wrong now. So as previously stated, the learners of today are digital learners. These students are, they learn through M-Learning, which is mobile learning. this mobile learning is learning basically done on smart devices such as tablets, laptops, and smartphones. The advantages of mobile learning is that it's inexpensive, and this is mainly for the university because students bring their own devices. The multimedia capabilities is flexible to learners, is collaborative learning. Students could work together with their devices, higher engagement rates because students are entertained. This is something they're interested in. Social learning is faster note-taking. Real-time access to course-related material, instant answers, which means they can look up stuff on Wikipedia or Google, and just a wide access of information. These are some examples that I have used in the past. A smartphone film festival where we had students create videos by shooting and editing on their phone. And then we held a presentation in the multi-purpose room. But something like this could easily go and do a main Zoom meeting where we share the videos. This next one was done last week, which is a movie night where everyone watched the same movie and then held the conversations on something like Twitter or Instagram. And this is an exercise challenge that I am in right now with my friends. And this is just a few examples of things that could be done with mobile devices. However, they also come with challenges. Battery life, as we know, batteries die. Connectivity, not everyone has the same internet access. I mean, some students might have bad internet carriers, and we know Wi-Fi isn't 100% reliable. Technical support, because students are on campus and they bring their own devices, our IT cannot help our students, or not supposed to at least. Constant updates, which sometimes could throw things off. The rapid change in technology, every year a new device comes out. Distraction, the thing is with distraction that I found that it mostly relates to the student and the educator, because educators complain that distractions could be texting or students surfing the net or watching social media or YouTube or something, but students are going to be distracted depending on the class or how interested they are in the subject or whatever. Designing activities for M-Learning, I think that educators should do classes to learn more about how to train. And this was in my research also. And also one of the challenges, students using inappropriate materials. And that's the end of this. If it's possible, I'm gonna go back to the website if I could find it. Yes. So, can you guys see this? All right.
Yes.
So this is something that I want to do in the future, life skills, and I spoke to Dr. Collado about it. This is like one of my main goals to do like next year. I want to create a series of life skills, and this video I'm not going to show, but I will give you guys access to my website. This is life skills is a series of videos where basically me or my staff shoot videos on how to teach students skills that will help them throughout life, such as changing tires or how to cook simple meals, videos like that. This video on here is just an example. Is me teaching my son how to put up a tent in the backyard. I just used it as an example. And this other video is one of our push-up challenges. that I wanted to share as an example. And these are actually events that we've been hosting since we've been quarantined. Last 2 weeks, we've had our first 100% online student government vote. And we also have Zoom classes, which trains students on dances and stuff. And this is also links to my PowerPoint. And back to my study now, the QR code, this is what I used to have. Initially, when I was doing my study, I started out sending emails. However, students weren't really reluctant to answering emails. So I decided to use QR codes where I would walk around and have the students scan. And I found that this was more effective, and it was also in line with the research, because it is using the mobile devices. And I don't know. So to summarize my research, I interviewed over 100 students on campus, throughout the campus, over a course of a week. And I found that over 90% of the students were interested in using mobile devices for engagement. They just found it that more interested, basically. And I feel that as someone who works with students, that it is our job to prepare our students in a world that they know, and their world is mobile devices. I also, if I could share, is a small cartoon. Oh, by the way, if you could see my website, this is the link to my study. And I created a small cartoon that would summarize everything and to end it all. If I have enough time to share it, it's about 4 minutes. That's okay?
Yeah, go for it.
All right. And we are living in a world of technology. However, predominantly teachers have been teaching in the outdated brick and mortar classroom style teaching. According to Mark Prensky's article, Digital Natives, Digital Immigrants, was published in 2001. Now, almost 20 years later, education is still playing catch up. Students of 2001 were digital natives. Today's students have evolved into M-learners, or mobile learners. Now more than ever, universities and schools can afford to host online workshops and webinars, live video workshops, inspirational videos, challenges such as workouts, do-it-yourself instructional videos, and also online parties, due to the fact that we are now living in an era of bring your own devices. Learners can now attend activities at any time from anywhere. They can be in bed or on a bus or even at the park and still participate in the same activity at whatever time they choose. Sadly, due to the pandemic and social distancing, classes, activities, and workshops were forced to adapt to be 100% online. However, a challenge is an opportunity for growth. Therefore, what we have learned from quarantine is that online activities work. live videos work. For some strange reason, people actually enjoy playing games and having parties with other people who's not in the same room with them. On the contrary, one could argue that online activity has increased due to the fact that students and people in general are stuck in their homes at this time due to being quarantined. When the quarantine is all said and done, we cannot fall back into having workshops and meetings where we tell students to put their phones away. We have to embrace change. There's an old adage that goes something like, if we can't beat them, join them. So if there's a student at your event with a cell phone, don't ask him to put it away. Ask that student to take a pic and post it with a hashtag or geomark to invite more students to your event. We can fall back into our backward, obsolete educational practices, or I want to note that I created that on my phone with my fingers. So that's why and I'm trying to go back to the website, sorry. I guess I have to let it play. Okay. Oh. And is there any questions?
If anyone has a question, they could just unmute themselves and ask it.
Okay.
Malvanie, I just want to say I really appreciate your passion and that you completed a project that was right up your alley, that you're interested in, that's going to be beneficial for you, for the program. So good for you.
Thank you.
Very cool.
Good job.
Thank you, John. Thanks.
You're done.
Good.
Malvanie, you did the Smartphone Film Festival the other day. How did that work out for the students? Is there a lot of engagement with that as a result?
We only got about 5 entries. We planned on doing it again. It was not well received, I'm guessing, I would say. But I think we didn't market well enough or far enough in advance. Like, I think that our problem was the event was hosted in, I believe, December, and we started marketing around either early November or late October. Like, next time I do it, I would want to try to start by September at least, because there's a whole process that we had students, like, we had to have them turn in videos because we didn't want videos to have profanity or just inappropriate things. So we had to look over the videos. So the process kind of took long, and I think that's what scared students away. But it's something I want to do again.
I love the concept of that, especially with just recently you did the film festival where people can join in on the conversation. What a great idea.
Yeah. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to doing a life skills, because I just think it's something our students could use, and it's like Dr. Alberman said, up my alley. My boss asked me last week to create more online programs, so this is something that I was thinking about.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much, Malvanie.
Thank you, Malvanie.
Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, I like it a lot. It's very creative.
Thank you. Oh, I just realized my screen was still being shared. Sorry.
That's okay. Sam's gonna
Take over.
to John.
Yes.
Okay.
And John, Sam, do you have him as co-host so that he could share a screen?
I have a share screen button here. I'll give it a shot.
Okay.
Give it a shot.
Uh-oh. Host disabled participant screen share.
Is it because of me?
Well, maybe he has to unshare first.
Okay, let me try that. you guys still see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, hold on. I got to change here. I think I'm good. Let's see. Screen share.
Okay.
There you go, John.
We're good? Okay.
Thanks.
So I have to say, my internet has gone out twice in the last half hour. So if my voice starts trailing off, then the matrix swallowed me. All right. So, okay, here we go.
Oh, let me.
Everyone can see this, right? Still? We're good?
Yes.
All right, so the title of my project is Education Evolving, the UDL and Blended Learning Interconnection. So I built a website basically for my project. Before I get into that, just a little bit about myself. I graduated NJIT with a computer science degree back in 2004. Being a teacher is a second career for me. So in 2014, I started to teach computer science in Passaic, New Jersey at the middle schools. Well, it used to be one middle school, now there's a bunch of middle schools. I am a product of the alternate route program, which I've heard has changed a lot in the last few years. So I'm glad I didn't have to do that in the last few years. By trade, since I was young, I've been a web developer, coder, graphic designer, things like that. So two things encouraged me with what my project is here. Two topics: universal design for learning and blended learning. Just as a refresher, universal design for learning basically provides all students in a classroom with multiple means of engagement, representation, and expression. Blended learning is something that's had multiple definitions over time, but I feel the most important one today is the one from Horn and Staker from their book, Blended: Using Disruptive Innovation to Improve Schools. Basically, students are involved in blended learning with both online and in-person learning. Those two different modes are highly integrated, and the big thing here is students have control in some sort of way, whether it's pace, place, or the path of their learning. Now, the important thing here is how these two topics, UDL and BL, come together. Their common language is personalization of education. Basically, personalization is when we address the distinct needs and interests of all the learners in our classrooms. So, udlbl.com. I'm going to bring up the website in a little bit. I just want to give a little bit of background about what's here. Obviously, if you can't tell by now, the UDL part in the website means Universal Design for Learning, and the BL means Blended Learning. I know BL is not a common sort of abbreviation for Blended Learning, but I thought it would look weird if it was UDL Blended Learning, so I went with what's short and what's memorable. UDLBL.com, what is it? It's a web page that helps users understand what UDL and blended learning are. It shows where the intersections of those two movements intersect. The goal here is to create something that a user can comprehend rather quickly and use as functional knowledge in their teaching practice. Who is it for? It's really for anybody in the educational arena, teachers, admin, pre-K to college, even the corporate arena. The cool thing about UDL and blended learning is that it applies to every sort of learner that there is. How does it work? I'll show you in a minute. Basically, as user, it's one big web page, and as a user scrolls down the web page, you have two gigantic circles. One represents UDL, the other one blended learning, and the two circles interact as you go down the website and you see how they're related to each other. And where is it? UDLBL.com is the website. Now, why did I make this? First of all, before I started doing my EdTech Masters, I honestly haven't heard of either of these topics before. Again, I'm a alternate route teacher. So I informally polled a bunch of people that I knew before I started working on this. A lot of people had heard of UDL, and they say they apply it, but they couldn't really define what it was besides giving options to students. Of everybody I asked, no one had any idea of the term blended learning. Although a lot of us do tend to put some of the aspects of blended learning into our classrooms consciously, but we don't know exactly that there's an actual movement behind that. The reason for making this website also is to put the actual names and specifics into the practices that we might already be using, as I just stated. And with this website, with the information there, hopefully as educators, we can make better decisions going forward based on science of learning. What I love about both of these is that they are very well-researched topics, especially UDL has been around for a really long time, and they're based on science. It's not just, oh, I feel this is working. It's learning science behind it. Lots of research has been carried out. Again, UDL has totally research-based. Blended learning is getting there. It's a bit of a newer topic, but that is the motive behind both of them. The advice on this website is applicable to all ages and learners, like I said, public school kids, college, and even the corporate setting, which I think a lot of us don't really think about by default, but you know, in anything that we're doing, even with corporations and stuff, we're always learning and moving forward. And today, shifting in the time of COVID, what's going on now with all of our classrooms, even though what's happening is really not blended learning, it's mostly just online learning, but teachers all over the place now are getting a taste of what online only education is like. So if you weren't doing online education before as an educator, you probably surely are at the moment. I'm just going to show you a quick couple of slides of the rough draft of this website before I actually created it. I made this, I guess, a few months ago, what I envisioned this website to look like. So I wanted the website to be nice and simple, nice and clean. You can see UDL circle on the left, BL circle on the right. The home page would just serve as basic information about the two topics. Then each topic, blended learning and UDL, would have their own dedicated sections of more info. There is a section about the evolution of these two, and one of the key points that you'll see is how I think UDL and blended learning are merging with each other and how they interact with each other, especially going forward. I have a section also about different overlaps, again, how they merge with each other, complement each other. And then at the end, I have a little bit of a framework graphic that I created. So let me actually bring up the website as it stands right now. Now this is publicly available, like I said, udlbl.com. If you were to go there, this will pop up for you. So it looks a lot better than the rough draft part. I shined it up a little. But you'll see here, the first page, we have brief introduction about both of the topics. As you scroll down the page, well, let's see if this works here. Good. As you scroll down the page, you start to see some animations happening. So this is one long web page with different sections to it. So as we scroll down, we see the blended learning circle start to disappear. UDL circle takes the forefront. Here we have description about what UDL actually is. We have a graphic along the left side, the why, the what, and the how of learning. The three basic tenets here, like I said, are engagement, representation, action, and expression. So what this does is it brings somebody up to speed really as concisely as I could and as responsibly as I could to give people background information about what UDL actually is, in case they just have, you know, a very slight perception about how it actually works. As you continue to scroll down, the UDL circle fades itself out, the blended learning circle comes back in. And here we have descriptions about blended learning. As I said earlier, personalization is really what's at the forefront between these two topics. So here we have some information about blended learning. Now, here's the interesting part. As you scroll down a little bit further, two circles start to merge together. And I have what I call the Universal Design for Learning and Blended Learning timeline. I'm not going to read all this stuff right now because it's publicly accessible, but basically what I feel is if we look into the past over here, Universal Design for Learning is a bit of an older topic. Been around for about 30 years or so, 25 years. Blended learning is something that's been around for a while, but hasn't been very well defined up until maybe in the last decade or so. They kind of sit separately. As time goes on, what I feel will happen here is that blended learning becomes a bigger portion of universal design for learning because obviously the world, as Malvanie mentioned, is moving towards, you know, all tech integration. As we see with COVID, we have no other options but tech. So we're actually kind of going off the deep end with it now. But the merging of the physical classroom with the online world is just much more inevitable as time goes on. And as you scroll down a little further, you see the two circles follow us down, and I have examples of where the universal design for learning and blended learning overlap with each other. I have about, I think, a dozen different little topics here, little factoids to bring people up to date about how they work together. And then finally, as we scroll down to the bottom, I have what I call I pretty much bring together all of my overlaps and my timeline together down here. Basically how the two topics come together, what things they share in common with each other, what things that one, maybe UDL contributes a little bit more than what blended learning contributes. So we have about 12 to 14 different little circles here. And I think it gives a good overview for someone who is, you know, if you come to this website, you have absolutely no idea what these two topics are about. If you Google, you know, the hope is eventually with this that, you know, if you Google something like universal design for learning and blended learning, I might appear towards the top. Eventually, you know, there's obviously a lot of websites out there, but as time goes on, if I build links to this website and I link out to other people, do some marketing with it, this might be something that pops up and people can learn something about. And as a lot of us who do projects figure, doing something like this seems to be a bit of a better use of all the research that we spent instead of filing away a thesis in some drawer somewhere or some digital drawer somewhere. So that is basically what I have. Any questions, comments?
Thank you, John.
Sure.
John, I love your visuals.
Thank you.
The UDL, the BL, and I like the UDL BL. It's cute.
Yeah, it works. It's available. Well, it's no longer available. Copyright John Brown.
That's right. You gotta copyright that. Mail it to yourself. Dr. Chamber is the expert on copyright.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I just had deja vu that I've been through this, but yeah, I like the concept. I feel like I told you this already in a class of mine. I really like this concept and to build it out. I feel like we've had this discussion.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well done.
Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you.
This is
Hi, Diane.
excellent, John. I agree with Dr. Amerman. I think that this could be expounded upon for grounded theory research if you continue to get your doctorate. I think that would be an excellent idea because this is, like she said, not only aesthetically it makes sense, but where your overlap was and how they start to interlap is actually what really interests me. And I think that would be really good to investigate further. And there's a couple areas on this, and I shared the link to your site for everybody in the chat to revisit some of these things because I think you have a lot of merit here in how you artfully blended these. So I think the way that you even organize that speaks volumes about your understanding of this concept. So I'm very, very am very much engaged with this, and I like this very much. You did an excellent job.
Thank you.
It's great. John, what was your background before you became a teacher? I can't remember.
Well, web development, design, graphic design, also coding. I worked for Panasonic for a long time doing a lot of
I think
websites.
it's a great connection between the education and your background, and you're articulate and you are clear. You have a nice thing going, so.
Thank you.
Yeah, your website was very detailed. It's
Yeah.
good.
Thanks.
Good. Great. Well, thank you so much, John. We really appreciate it. Okay, I think we're ready to move on to our third and final student, Dottie. And
Oh, I stopped sharing, sorry.
Screen, that's okay. And Dottie could get set up and share his screen. Is he,
Okay.
Sam?
Yep, so I just made him a co-host.
Awesome. So Dottie, you could share your screen.
All right. Hi, folks. Are we visible here?
Good.
Just want to check, first of all, that I'm visible and audible.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Hear you.
Thank you. What's that?
I can see and hear you.
Okay, great. Well, first of all, apologize for my my terrible background. This day did not go as planned. We have a couple guys staying with us, a couple little guys, and their behavior is their behavior. So they're supposed to be out in the park right now, but a couple folks didn't follow directions. So now I have to sequester myself in a corner of the house because they kind of are running the rest of the place. I will give myself a background too, just so you all know who I am. My name is Daudi Angatia. I am also an alternate route graduate. I teach in Paterson, New Jersey. My cert is K-12 science. My major when I was at NJCU was biology some years back. So I graduated, worked in that, did some, I guess, paramedical type stuff, physical therapy, that sort of thing. And then came back to education. And this is only my 4th year in teaching. So I count myself a bit of a novice still, but gaining some experience, gaining some traction, and hoping to grow as I do that. I'm going to be talking about student engagement, specifically to the school that I work in. I work in School 24 in Paterson. And I'm currently this year working with 6th grade and 7th grade. So the strategies that I found, I wanted to find out what are teachers using to engage their students in learning. I really wanted to do this for my own practice, to inform my own practice. I was really the main audience of this, but of course, I also would like to expand to particularly people who are younger into the profession. This can be of use to them. Of course, that would be a boon. That would be fantastic. Engagement, as I started to get together with my reading and just find the research that's out there, can be defined in different ways depending on the context that you're in. The first one here, engagement by adults of students. This is, I think, pretty much what Malvanie was speaking about, where the institution or the principals or like a cafeteria manager is trying to engage students on what they're either eating or participating in, or things like cell phone policy. A principal could maybe send out something to students and say, hey, what do you think of this? What things make sense to you? So that's from that angle of the adults to the students, that can be that type of engagement. In a different context, we talk about engagement being the feelings of the students towards their school. How connected do they feel to their school? Do they want to be there? Do they enjoy being there? Do they talk about their school? Do they like their school? And then the last one here, which is what I paid most attention to, is students engaging with the actual learning content, right? So what are they learning? What's the information that they're supposed to be getting? Are they getting it? Do they care about it? Are they connected to it? I focused on this last one here. Then as I'm going through also engagement, a couple of things began to open up, and I realized I don't know as much as I do about engagement. Seems to be a pretty straightforward topic, but the more I read about it, the more I learned about it, the more I realized how much I need to know about it. Engagement has been split into 3 based on the research that I looked at. Engagement can be behavioral, it can be affective, or it can be cognitive. Behavioral means is the student doing what they're supposed to be doing in the classroom? Does their behavior show them being connected to the class? Are they answering questions? Are they taking notes? Are they looking at, if it's a PowerPoint or a video, supposed to be reading a book, are they doing it? Is their behavior connected to what they're supposed to be doing? Affective means how do they feel about the class? Do they feel good? Do they like the class? Do they hate the class? Do they enjoy the class? Is the class meaningful to them? And then cognitive engagement, that's, are they fully engaged? Are they mentally engaging with the material that's being given to them? Are they processing it? Are they going to what I saw some keywords here coming up, higher level engagement, deeper questions, right? Are they just surface learning, or are they actually engaging deeply with the material that's being presented to them? For this study, I focused on that which is evident, obviously, and the most evident one would be behavioral engagement. What you can see. It's difficult to see cognitive engagement, so I did not look for that in this study. And affective also came up because my primary mode that I used here was surveys. So it's students who are receiving a survey and reporting back. So obviously they're talking about their own feelings. and I'm also reporting what I see. It's possible to, I guess, and easier to see and measure behavioral and affective engagement, perhaps a little bit effective, but cognitive is more difficult to measure. Note also that it is possible to have one or two forms of engagement without having the other two. For instance, a student could be behaviorally engaged. They look like they're reading what's supposed to be read, looking at what's supposed to be looked at, and paying attention to the teacher, but they might not necessarily like the class. They might not care for it. So that would be they have behavioral but not affective engagement. Or they could be cognitively engaged, where they really are thinking about the classroom, but their behavior might not show that. Doesn't happen a lot, but it could happen where you have someone who looks sort of like languid or ambivalent about the class, but they really are actually connected to the class. And some kids who are hyperactive and can't sit still could even look like they might be potentially disruptive, when in fact they could really be engaging with the classroom material on a deeper level. So these are things that I'm finding out as I'm continuing to study this and just to grow in my knowledge of this. I focused on behavioral engagement, of course. It's easier to observe and record. And of course, cognitive engagement is the gold standard. It's what you want. It's the goal of teaching. You want your students to be able to not just participate in the classroom, but think deeper about what it is that they're being told, what it is that they're learning, and the activities they're engaging in. And then beyond that, ask their own questions. Why, how, why not? Can I improve this? Can I change this? So that's the level that I took. These were things, as far as these 5 levels of engagement, that I completely did not really know much about. I knew you could be engaged or not. I didn't realize that there's all this research that's been done, and it shows that there can be 5 different levels of engagement. The top level, of course, high attention, high commitment. That is probably cognitive. Not 100%, but probably cognitive. Strategic, you're paying attention, but you don't particularly care. You're not really interested, but you're paying attention. This could be because of consequences that have been put in place. Maybe if I don't do this, I'm going to get that, and I don't want that. So I'm going to look like I'm participating. This could kind of be a faking it type of thing. Ritual compliance, low attention, low commitment. Again, these two are close to each other. I'm going to sort of participate, kind of, just sort of like skate by, but not really engaging. I don't really care about the material that's being given to me. The next one is retreatism. They are disengaged. They have no commitment. They're really not making much of an attempt to participate in the classroom. And then rebellion, that's the one, of course, we want to avoid, where not only are they not committed, and distracted, but they are also working against the class. They're disrupting the classroom, which, by the way, is one of the main things that pushed me towards studying engagement, because in urban places like where I am, I teach in Patterson, behavioral issues tend to be a big deal. And I just wanted to find ways to present materials to students that would catch them. What is everyone around me doing? How are they keeping the kids engaged and out of trouble? And can I copy what they're doing? Can I replicate it? Can I improve on what they're doing? Just what is it that they're doing in their classes? And sometimes in the public school setting, it's difficult to find time or even willingness by your peers. Find time to come and visit their class and see what they're doing well. And number 2, a willingness by your peers to let you come in and just see what they're doing. So I guess I'm going to preempt myself a little bit and say relationships are a big deal here. Not just relationship between the teacher and the student, but even between teachers themselves. If you have good relationships, it helps, because then you can go in, see what the veterans are doing, how they're doing it, and you can apply that for yourself. Another reason why I did this study is it features prominently in the observation framework. I know that it's one of the ways that administrators, when they're coming around making the observations of teachers, engaged classes, connected classes, tends to leave a positive image, and they tend to put you in the class of a good teacher, an effective teacher in the eyes of an administrator and an observer. So it also is a very highly recommended topic and subject in course material, introductory course material. When I took the new pathways to teaching in New Jersey, the alternate route, there's a pretty big section on engagement and behavior and classroom management, that sort of thing. And so I realized, okay, it takes quite some weight. So if I get better at this, I should be getting better at my practice. There are a couple of studies that I came across that showed both the results of engagement and disengagement. Don't want to bore you by reading through all of them, but this one over here talked about half of students who dropped out reported that they were just not interested in their classes. They were not engaged. Another study here showed that as little as 15% of students that were studied here were actually paying attention to what was going on in the classroom. So it looks like it's something that is really beyond just my own classroom. It's something that's worth studying. This particular graphic here I found really intriguing. The author estimated the amount of time that's spent on the far right here in actual academic learning time compared to how much time is available in a year. In a school year that has about 180 days, the number of hours available for teaching, and then those that are actually being used for teaching, and it's just about half of the time. It's kind of startling to see that 90 days pretty much are spent on things other than actual academic learning. So that just reinforces the idea of the importance of engagement. Another reason for this, classroom management. Engaged students are not likely to be interested in clashes with peers or their teacher because they're connected to what they're doing. Engaged students are more likely to bite that learning carrot, get interested, find something that really catches them, and fulfill one of those things that vision, and not our school, one of the visions that we have there is to create lifelong learners. And I feel that if I get students engaged, the more engaged they are, the more likely I am to have them go into this path that fulfills our mission, which is to develop lifelong learners. The methods that I used for the study were observations. I went to the classrooms to make observations of other people's work, other teachers' work, and I gave surveys and questionnaires both to students and to the teachers. The participants, so I have 5 groups of 7th graders and 1 group of 6th graders. I used the students that I work with and then visited the classrooms, the other classrooms that they go to for their classes. Altogether, I had 17 teachers that participated in all the subjects pretty much that cover middle school curriculum. My steps, well, after I selected the 2 methods for the study with the guidance of the classroom that we had in last semester, which was Ed Tech 621, Dr. Amman's first class, and then this one here. I went to my principal, just presented the whole study to her and told her what I intend to do. She told me that she would not give me permission until I had spoken to the teachers and find that they are all okay with this. So I spoke to her, went to the teachers. They confirmed that the administration is okay with this. They gave me their okay, each one of them. Then I came back to her with this information. So then she gave me the permission for it. I thought initially that I'd have to go to the district level to get permission to do these studies, but she gave me some very clear restrictions on how to use the information that I receive, and I confirmed that I'm just using it for myself. So she said, this is not any problem. You don't need to go to district permission. You can just stay within the school. Then after that, I scheduled the visits, went and conducted the visits in the classrooms, took a bit of time there, gave out and collected the surveys, and then collated the responses. Those were the steps that I took to carry out the research. What did I observe? Well, I did 10 different strategies that I observed. I won't spend 10 minutes on all of them. I'll just mention them real quick. There's a jigsaw technique where different sections of the class have different parts of a lesson, and they all have to come together to complete that. For it to make sense, each person has to contribute, each group has to contribute for them to be able to have a full lesson that makes sense. The randomized think, pair, share is something that I observed in an algebra class in 8th grade, where the students are paired to have conversations, but the way she randomizes it, she put stickers underneath every other chair. And so some days, if you look underneath your sticker and you have a red post-it note, you're the speaker. If the post-it note is green, you're going to be the speaker. So each day, these changed. She felt that this engaged the students more because not only do they not feel picked on because it's randomized, and they really do see that she randomized, she didn't pick on anyone. But you know, you have to speak when you pull out the post-it note and it's, you know, it's green or it's red or whatever. You do get, so they're more engaged. She makes them get engaged with some kind of, I guess, freedom because of the randomization. She also had station work that she used for algebra. And what she meant by this was that sometimes she'll have one half of the class doing a technology-based thing where kind of touching into what John was talking about, sort of like blended learning type thing. So they are almost like independently learning while she has half of the class receiving instruction directly from her. And then halfway through the classroom, she'll switch the two groups. A strategy that was used was the grouping, homogeneous grouping. This is especially observed in the classes that have classified students, where students are brought together based on either their level or their learning style, and they receive instruction to their level. So I guess that would be called a bit of personalization, tapping into, again, what John mentioned before, which is UDL, BL, kind of bringing those things together, personalizing the learning to the students. In science, we use a lot of hands-on investigations. This tends to be very good at getting the students engaged and connected to what they're learning. If they can feel it, touch it, engage with it, they feel more connected to the class. Social studies, I saw a lot of project-based work. In language arts, a lot of gamifying of things. If you give a response, the most responses, you get this kind of reward, or you get this kind of like title, some kind of like easy competitions, low pressure competitions, got the students more engaged. They're willing to participate a lot more. When it comes to real world application, this was in one of the math classes that I observed, where they were learning statistics, but this teacher used actual real-time stats from some of the leagues. And so some of the kids who would otherwise have been disinterested, they really knew a lot. They wanted to participate because they knew the statistics, whether it's individual player statistics or team stats, and how they are compared, and that really caught the attention of the students. Also, CNN 10 is something that gives real-time news that the kids can, it sounds like something they've been hearing outside or at home, it connects them a little bit more. Choice, we are at the school that I teach in, we're a performing arts school, and so a section of the classes, the students who are there, are not from within the neighborhood, but they've applied from outside of that neighborhood, but within the city. Those students, because they're given a choice for what they want to participate in, particularly band and art. We also have chorus and drama. Those had the highest levels of participation. Those kids really were connected to what they were doing. They really seemed interested, and there were hardly any behavioral issues coming out of those classes. The kids cared about what they were doing. On the other choice thing that I saw an art teacher connecting with a social studies teacher and giving the students a choice on how they were going to present their project, either making a mask or a poster or a drawing, and she was working with them. The collaboration between the two teachers and giving the students some kind of choice seems to increase engagement in those rooms. These are my results, just the numbers of it from what I saw in the rooms. My survey was simply, do you participate in this class? Always, sometimes, never. So the numbers that I got. Putting together the sometimes and the always, 78.9% of the students report at least sometimes participate in the classroom. My takeaways from this, first of all, I had a chance to really learn what engagement is. I had a chance to really dig into the 5 forms of engagement and what the indicators of each of those are. How do we know when students are engaged? Just because someone's not really looking up and paying attention does not mean they're not really engaged. And then the 3 variables of engagement. This speaks to relationships between the teacher and the students, between the students and each other, the peers amongst each other, and between the students and the material that they're learning. I also added on one there, which is relationships between the teachers and the teachers that are around. That is something that I learned is useful, critical, and impactful to engagement in the classroom. Something else I took away, grouping in science. Just from observing my other science teacher in the building and talking to my supervisor, who also was a teacher, she talks about how to do the grouping, specifically on the numbers. Never go beyond 4 in a group. Bigger than that becomes too big. No one's really accountable for anything. Rotate group roles. Keep things fresh, but stay in bounds. In other words, don't lose the structure of the classroom. Basic management 101, which is that it's a predictable structure, but keep it fresh. Don't let them get bored. And then praise, praise, praise. If they do well, encourage them, let them feel good about being in the classroom. And then the behaviors that are fringe behaviors that you do not want to see in the classroom, tend to ignore those unless it's a safety issue. Ignore some of the behavior things that are being seen in the classroom. If it's off-task behavior, try to ignore that strategically, hoping that most of the class is moving and trusting that those will eventually come aboard and join the rest of the classroom, and then make the content relatable to the students. Some quotes that kind of stuck with me from some of my colleagues in the school. If you're not enjoying the class, students are probably not enjoying it either. Something else from a principal was, kids won't learn from someone they don't like. Next one here was, middle schoolers are very socially conscious. So I first figure out the most efficient students in the class and hook them in. And then if they're participating, those kids that other kids think are cool or are popular, if they participate, are more likely, his teacher reported, is more likely to get other kids to participate, makes his job easier. Another quote that I got from him was, being wrong is just as good as being right. Convincing the students that just because you raise your hand or you give a response that's not correct, that's okay. I like that as much as I like the kid who answered and got it right. What I do not like is not trying at all. So he's convinced them. They kind of like have this model. Not trying is truly being wrong, but being wrong is just as good as being right if you're trying. I mentioned this already, talking about the relationships. That's the 3 types plus the 1. And then the randomization for equity, to keep things fair. Extracurricular connections. This is something that I learned a couple of years ago, where if I have connections with the students, if the teacher has connections with the students outside of the classroom, whether it's in soccer or in coaching, something else, when they come in to the classroom, they're more relatable, they feel more comfortable in the class, they tend to be more engaged, and they kind of see, I guess, more as a human and not just a robot that's out there. Some questions that I still have going forward, and I would like to study if I get a chance to, or at least just practice in some way or ask mentors and that kind of thing, is how does a perception, if a student reports to me that they are always engaged, how does that compare with their grades? I didn't get a chance to look at that. Do all the kids who say I'm always engaged and I always participate, do they get good grades? Is there a correlation between those two? Is it possible to measure cognitive engagement? I'd like to look at some research that's available out there, just to see, just as a wondering. And what are the indicators, true indicators of cognitive engagement? Maybe the grades, not sure, wondering about that. Can curiosity be triggered in seemingly apathetic learners, students who don't seem to care? How do you hook them in? How do you trigger them in? I guess some of these methods that we had here, but are there other ways to do it? And then coaches. I have seen coaches in basketball or football, just the way they interact with the kids. Everybody seems to be really connected and engaged. And what can be learned from them? What methods are they using? What makes them so successful with engaging the students? And then pop things, music, video games, just learn from that. What do they use to engage students? Because they seem to be so engaged. What do they use? What parameters do they have that work so well that I can apply in the classroom? I mean, one thing I've heard of mentioned even for adults is most TV programs, every 15, not even 15 minutes, they last about a half-hour show is 20 minutes long, because every several minutes, 5-7 minutes, there's a commercial that comes on, because the attention span, I guess, is waning. So I'm curious to learn about that and see if I can modify my classes in that way. Maybe I can do something where whatever number of minutes that is, can I switch an activity, change things up? Just something that I'm wondering about. My guiding resource for this classroom was the textbook that we had, which is a handbook for teacher research. That was my basic resource for this book. that's basically my findings and my reportings on student engagement. I wonder if there are any questions, contributions, something that I can maybe change.
That was really good. I teach in a similar sort of background as you. I'm in Passaic, so a lot of what you're saying is pretty eye-opening, and it's good. I liked it. A lot of good info.
I thought, Dottie, you hit on so many things that everything could be researched independently, all those things. But I like you looked at it from as a practicing teacher, what do you need to know? And you had the benefit to go to other classrooms. And that, you know, John, probably even being a career changer, you don't get that opportunity to go in other people's classrooms and to look and see what they're doing and how can I do it better? What can I learn from them? I think that's a great model. I also think what you did, Dottie, lends to John's UDL stuff, because all your examples that teachers were using to engage were UDL. So that I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yes, I also agree. As a class, I know firsthand the challenges of being a classroom teacher. So I really appreciate the information that you shared. And yes, I agree. Like the most valuable experience that we can have is be able to visit other classroom, which it rarely happens. And I think it's important because we forget. We think that it's so easy. Engagement is something so easy to accomplish, and it's not. And I like the reminders of the 3 parts or the 3 types of engagement. And especially what resonated too is the fact that in order to be an effective teacher, we're measured by the engagement of the students. Well, there's too many factors involved. So it's important to talk about this. So thank you.
Yeah, I agree. I think, honestly, the 3 of you did a fantastic job. Seriously, you have created a pathway for us to go forward.
Yes.
These kind of things more in the future. I think that's a great opportunity. That way, like how many people are reading the other theses? But now we'll have a webinar that we could share over and over and over and over again. So thank you so much for being the front runners.
Question that came up to me when I was, sorry.
Go ahead.
When I was listening to, especially Malvanie speak, I was just wondering about engagement versus entertainment and how that goes towards like an academic, context, because I can be entertained and really paying attention to something, so I am engaged, but how do I translate that from entertainment type engagement to learning type engagement, which is different, I think.
I appreciate the way you think, Dottie. Dr. Schamberg and I do a lot of observations together in schools, and sometimes there's a very entertaining teacher, and he would say, oh, it's so entertaining. I'm like, yeah, but what are we really getting out of it? So I think you have this insight to ask these questions that are so powerful. So keep it up, keep asking.
Thank you.
Yes, and I'll add one question that I'll add is, does learning always have to be fun? Like does it, I usually tell my students that not because you may not like what we're doing or what we're learning about doesn't mean that you don't learn. We also have to understand that just because it's not what we would do or it's not fun, it's not a learning experience. So that's the question that I'm throwing at you for the future research.
Thank you.
Good. I always say the more we have to say and more that we question, the better, because that means you gave us something and now our brains are like thinking more and more and more what to do with it. So. Yes. All 3 of you, honestly, really much appreciated.
Great work.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great job.
Thank you.
Guys, have a good night, everybody.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Take care. All the best. Stay safe.
Good one.
Thank you.